I'm a super dyslexic lawyer. Like I would make a ton of really dumb mistakes at work and I would always get yelled at. So that kind of led me to build this sort of like system where I would have everything color coded. I think this is like universal for all the startup communities. Like there's like a really big desire to like help each other out. So like it's like, oh, what are you building? Oh, I'm building this. Oh, that's super cool. I know this guy, or this guy's interesting. And just like the network effect and the compound like growth that happens from just like being with people that are working in the same stuff is like really powerful. I think one of the things that there's like a big difference between selling in Latin America and the US. US, it's like if you want to get in touch with Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or like the CEO of like a bank, like that would probably be really hard. I would say that Latin America, it's easier to get in touch with people.
Welcome back to the Spring Studio Spotlight podcast. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Andres. He's a Mexican entrepreneur who transitioned from a career in law to founding, scaling, and eventually selling a legal tech startup. We discuss his journey, the rise of Mexico City as a startup hub, and how leveraging AI led to a game-changing acquisition. Andres also shares insights into building in Latin America, navigating cultural sales nuances, and where he sees the future of AI heading. So whether you're a founder, tech enthusiast, or just curious about legal tech, this episode is packed with actionable takeaways. Check it out. If somebody wanted to build something now, build a company now, build a product, and potentially leverage AI, where are you seeing like the most opportunity?
I think that infrastructure is a huge like pain in the butt. Like I feel like every company needs a couple of DevOps.
Did you believe at some point that your idea sucked, or were you still like, no, this is we've got conviction, we know this is helpful, we just got to find the right people that this actually helps?
Anyone that spends like a couple of months trying to sell something and like expecting like, because you start off in the beginning, you think like, this is gonna just like rocket shit up. There like comes a time where if you've been doing it for a couple of months or whatever and it's not going the way you were thinking, you definitely start to question yourself and you go on like, oh my God.
All right, Andres, good to see you, man. How are you?
Great to see you, my friend. I'm great. Really happy to be talking to you. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. No, excited to catch up. For those who don't know my story, Andres and I got connected way back when he needed some design work, and Spring Studio came on board and helped his previous company Ali do some design work. So that's how we got hooked up, and we've just been homies ever since. I met you down in Mexico, like in the flesh, in person. What was that, last year sometime?
Yes, I always tell everyone you're my only like digital friend. Like you're the only person that I like posted a post online. What was it? What's that website called? I forgot.
Oh, I don't know if it exists anymore. It was
a website. I love that, to like find just to like get connected with like creative talent. And like I can't believe from like a random post on like a Tuesday morning, like we ended up being, you're my bro now. We saw each other in person. When I'm up in that Bay Area, I'm hitting you up 100%. So that's crazy.
You're based in Mexico. Is it still like Mexico, San Diego, or are you still kind of popping between the two?
Yeah, my family still lives in San Diego, and I love it. Like, just you get it. California is just breathtaking. Just the ocean, the cities are amazing. So I can't get enough of it. But also Mexico City is, you also have gotten a chance to see it. It's just bustling. There's so much to do. There's a great ecosystem for building and like meeting people, and great food and stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's a special place for sure.
Yeah, just trying to get the best of both worlds while I can.
Yeah, I love it. Pulling on that thread a little bit, how is the tech scene in Mexico? You've had this front row seat for a while now. Has it changed? Has it evolved? I feel like it's always been there, and now it's just getting even more recognition.
Yeah, so I think what has really happened is like there's a really big migration of like talent and companies and startups building and moving towards Mexico. It's like kind of like similar to like what happened in the US with San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Say like Mexico City's like a smaller version of that, but a lot of companies that are building products, AI products, technical products, they move where there's like a lot of talent. So there's a lot of talent based here. There's a lot of companies that are buying. Like Mexico is one of like the bigger economies. It's like Mexico and Brazil, Brazil speaks another language, so like technically counts as like a different like continent. Like people are like Latam, and then there's like Brazil on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So the place to be building, to be meeting people, where the money's at, where the clients are at. Right now, it seems to be Mexico. There's definitely like great scenes in Colombia and Peru and Chile and Argentina, but Mexico right now is just like really popular. It's on the come up. So that's been like amazing to see grow. I think like every single day, I get like an invite through a chat that I'm in, like a entrepreneurs like events chat, and every single night there's like a bar thing. There's like a pitch competition. There's like so it's like it's really a good place to be at.
Nice. You found a way to kind of plug yourself in to the community. I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty easy to just stay online and to just stay digital, right? It's another thing entirely to kind of go see people in real life and go attend those meetups and those and go to the bars and meet the people in the community. Was that a conscious decision that you made when you were running Alley, your company out there, to like get as embedded into that community as possible?
It didn't like start as like a really conscious decision. I would say that you just like talking to people, founders that I like know and I had like met through my time as a lawyer. I'd just be like, hey, like let me know where I can learn more. I'd like to meet more people. I live kind of far from like the center of Mexico City. So in the beginning, like that's like Condesa, Roma, that's like in the center of Mexico City. Like that's where like most of the meetups are. And so like I remember in the beginning, people would be like, oh, you should come like to this event. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to have to drive for like 50 minutes an hour just to get there and then drive back. I remember me and Diego, my co-founder, we like noticed that every time we went to something, we would meet someone that was interesting, that was cool. We would make a friend. We would meet potential investors, someone that was building in the space. And like, I think this is like universal for all like the startup communities. Like there's like a really big desire to like help each other out. So like it's like, oh, what are you building? Oh, I'm building this. Oh, that's super cool. I know this guy, or this guy's interesting. And just like the network effect and the compound like growth that happens from just like being with people that are working in the same stuff is like really powerful. So even though I have to drive for a while to get there, it's definitely worth it.
That's not the case online. It's hard to find that community and hard to find the people who are willing to just jump in and help when you can't meet in person. Was that like, thinking back to your early days building Alley, was that like one of those major unlocks for you guys to not only attract talent, but attract interest in the product and like build out the network? Was that like a significant point in Alley's history?
For sure. I think like, and also like not like something like maybe I first saw at the beginning of the process. I was a first time founder. So there's like so many questions to do. So just being like, oh, there's like a data security thing for a potential client. Like, oh, I know I met like a founder the other day. He does data security. Like, oh, I'm going to call him and see if he can help me out. Oh, dude, I got you. Or I need like some design. I'm going to call Tristan. So just like the ability to delegate things you don't know, just to ask someone who knows questions, that happens. And like, it's not like you're going to be posting on like LinkedIn every day. Like, hey, who here knows about mechanical structures for underwater things? Like, I don't know. So it's crazy.
Totally.
That's what happens in the end.
Take me to the early days of Alley. How'd you come up with the idea? And why did you think it was an idea worth pursuing? I mean, you're building AI a couple years ago, like you're kind of right in the middle of the big wave. What about it was so convincing to you that it was like, abandon my career as a lawyer, just go all in on building a tech product?
So for me, I was a lawyer, as you said. And so I'm a super dyslexic lawyer. Like I would make a ton of really dumb mistakes at work and I would always get yelled at. And so that kind of led me to build this sort of like system where I would have everything color coded. I would like try to leave like a lot of like the guesswork and like the artistry of it all aside and try to make like a really systemized approach to how I was handling my day-to-day tasks. And like anyone that's familiar with like the legal system, you will see that there's like a really big area of opportunity on practically everything that you could think of in terms of how you can like make it more efficient. You can make it better, you can standardize it and automate it and whatever. And so like that started becoming really apparent to me. I worked at the law firm I worked at. We worked a lot with startups because one of our clients was a VC fund down here. So we got to see and meet a ton of founders on like when they were raising their first rounds, and I got like firsthand experience and all that. And I had my brain just like switched together and goes like, oh, like someone should build a startup around. Back then, it was like drafting contracts, which is something that was like personally really bad at. That was something that I consistently made mistakes in. So I was like, oh, if like startups fix problems, like I think there's a big problem there. I think it was more of a problem for me than it is for like general lawyers. Like lawyers tend to be better at maybe some of the stuff that I wasn't as good at. But
hey, if you have the problem, somebody else is bound to as well.
Yeah, sure. I bet there is. So we initially launched Reboot, and Reboot, what it did was it drafted like really simple. It was like we drafted like simple contracts, and you would just like fill out the forms. It was super easy. That never really took off. And then one day, talking to one of my co-founders' cousins, he lives up in the Bay Area. He works at a really cool startup called Cloud Fabrics, and he's like, "You guys should check out this like brand new GPT-3 thing from OpenAI." Like we like pulled it up and we're like, oh my God, like what if we had this thing like build the contracts? Like now that's insane. And it was like magical. Like everyone has that oh my God moment when they're using AI. And we just went on the playground that they had back in the day. It was like widescreen, and we typed in like, oh, like do an NDA, and it did it. And it was just like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And so we ended up pivoting to document drafting with AI because we were roommates at the time, me and my co-founder. So I would like come home and be like, dude, I had this idea, and like look what this OpenAI thing can do. Like it's crazy. And so we ended up being like, oh, well, let's see if we can raise some money from like friends and family. Everyone, particularly, it was like a bunch of lawyers who thought it was a good idea. And we raised like a small friends and family, like angel round, and got together working, try to be like really lean in that process, pivoted around a bunch. You were part of it too. You were really helping us out with design and product. Like I think you definitely helped us a lot to like getting those first clients, switching the idea around. And in the end, we started doing document analysis. So like extracting information from documents to like review. So that was like a complete pivot from drafting documents, but that's more or less where that came from.
Love it. Thinking back, like the pivot was a huge moment. Can you recall any specific stories or instances where you were just like kind of between a rock and a hard place? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Like, how do we figure this out? Like, I feel like that's the other part of the startup success story. It's not always fun. there's a thousand things that go wrong, and how do you stay positive and committed to the mission, to the vision, whatever. Can you think back to any of those moments and how you got past them?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's true for like any business, really. I think it's not like a startup like centric problem. I think all businesses kind of have to just like manage their way through things. I don't think anyone can sit down and just make like the perfect game plan and then have that play through 15 years in the future and nothing goes wrong. Like that doesn't make that much sense to me. Just like not selling, man. So I think one of the things that there's like a big difference between selling in Latin America and the US. It's like if you want to get in touch with Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or like the CEO of like a bank, like that would probably be really hard. I would say that Latin America, it's easier to get in touch with people. Like if I see a company and I go like, oh, I would really want to meet the guy that's in charge of that. There's a way that you can like kind of talk to people, and there's like kindness to how people like respond to that is different from the US. The difference is that kindness also expresses itself in like people telling you what you want to hear instead of like being like truthful. So in the US, maybe if you get to like the guy that's in charge of like purchasing for your B2B enterprise software, like you might get a shot to pitch. And if he says like, oh, I'm gonna try something, or let's get a demo going, that is probably worth more than getting that in Latin America, because here people don't like to say no. It's like kind of like a culture thing. Like everyone's super warm and welcoming and like colorful. So if I go like, oh, Tristan, like I want to sell you this AI agent that's going to edit your podcast for you. Maybe here, like someone will go like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like, yeah, let's do it. And so I think we came to that moment where we talked to a bunch of people. We went crazy. We're really good at like getting in front of the people we wanted to talk to. And we were getting a bunch of the answers that we were wanting to hear, but that wasn't necessarily the truth. So when it came time to like ask for, oh, okay, like, yeah, pay for the money, I don't know if that's going to be like, it's going to have the impact that we wanted, like doesn't make a ton of sense. And so that a lot of like misinformation really like led us to like having a sit down and be like, all right, what could we actually sell? Like we got to start making some money here somehow.
So the sales process just looks a lot different, because instead of having a bunch of gatekeepers like we have here, where it's really hard to get that initial meeting, instead of those gatekeepers, it's kind of wide open, where it's like, yeah, initial meetings all day, every day, no problem. Like easy to get the initial meetings. And within those meetings, it's almost like, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like, some folks might not be willing to share the critical feedback or in some cases, the truth. And that leads you down a path of this like false promise where you're like, oh, these guys are like 80%. Like we got these guys in, like deal pipeline is looking really good. We got this 80%, 75%, 95%, and then all falls through for whatever reason. And sometimes that reason is, well, they just weren't upfront. They just weren't honest when we were actually talking to them about it.
It's a culture thing. Like everyone wants to be nice. Like if you ask for a favor, like everyone wants to help you, and they'll be like, yeah, like I'll introduce you to him. I'll introduce you to that guy. Like you can make it wherever you want to go, but they won't tell you like, oh, your idea sucks, man. Like we really wouldn't. That's.
Did you believe at some point that your idea sucked, or were you still like, no, this is, we've got conviction. We know this is helpful. We just got to find the right people that this actually helps.
No, we definitely I think anyone that spends like a couple of months trying to sell something and like expecting like, cause you start off in the beginning, you think like, oh, this is going to just like rocket shit up. There like comes a time where if you've been doing it for a couple of months or whatever, and it's not going the way you were thinking, you definitely start to question yourself and you go on like, oh my God, did I assume this? Was this wrong or whatever? So, I mean, it really could go a bunch of different ways, but I definitely didn't have the conviction that I started with a couple of months down the project,
And what ended up happening with Ali? I mean, you had an exit. Tell me about that.
One of the strings we were pulling just to see if there was anything there is we started looking at the smaller tech companies in the region in Latin America. Like I think there's like a group chat where like all the CEOs, all the founders from like every single company that is like a legal tech company in LATAM, like they're all there, and there's like 45 people. Like it's not a lot. And then for like the entire continent, we started thinking, well, you know what? Really good at the training and part of the AI models. Like we got really good at. We did a lot of fine tuning and especially a lot of prompting. So I think we were experts in getting the results that we wanted from the models. We just had been doing it for a lot longer. Like when we started using it was like a year before the December like explosion. So we'd been like trying to milk the AI for quality results for I would say like a year longer than everyone else. And so we came up to just these companies that were doing AI CRM and CLM and e-signature and different like legal tech products, and go like, all right, you're definitely going to want to do something like that's AI related. Why don't you just use like our model and like have us set that up for you? We're really good at it. Like at the end of the day, like that's what's really taken off. Like that's what our products really like where it like can really like stand up by itself. So why don't you guys like purchase from us and then focus on like your main business, which is like your CLM or your e-signature, whatever. That pitch went fantastic with like most of the companies that we talked to, but they all had one thing in common. They all went like, that sounds really good. We don't want you to offer this to our competitors. So that kind of started like a process where, we had been building for a while, and then out of the blue, like there was just so much interest for this, like from different companies with like different sizes, interesting in purchasing the technology that we had built. We weren't sure if we wanted to sell. Like we really love building. Like I love building. That's like my favorite part of what I do, is just like building product with like really talented people like you, and like having like a cool concept from like a pain evolve to something bigger, and then have like a really creative person like the people at Spring Studios, like you, like Daria, just like bring it to life and make it better. Like that for me is like a incredibly rewarding and fascinating thing. So we weren't really sure. And then Legalario, which is the company that bought us, we were talking to the CEO, who's now my partner, Rodrigo, and he like expressed this vision of like, I want you guys to come in here, like keep building what you guys are building, but let us support you with this entire ecosystem. It was like 70 people back then. Entire ecosystem that we have behind. We have like all the data security stuff. We have engineers for the cloud and back end and front end and whatever you could possibly need. And that just sounded like an opportunity to go build what we were already doing, but with just so much help and bring it to another level. And that ended up making just so much sense for us.
I love it. I mean, first off, congrats. I mean, it's super exciting. How has the transition been going from tiny little team, like you guys, Scrappy, every dollar counts, like every resource has to be allocated, over to having the support of something much bigger, letting you kind of explore and drive product in ways that you couldn't before? How has that transition been for you as a builder?
For sure. So I would say, especially in the beginning, Ali really focused on like law firms, and Legalario focuses on enterprise companies' legal departments. So that like there was a shift in that, and like we had to adjust a little bit about what we were doing. Just like needing to be at every single like meeting, because like it's like 4 or 5 of us that work at the company, and just like having complete insight on marketing and product and this problem that we were having with a bug, and how the model's doing, to like just that being done by people that report to someone else, like that whole structure, like that was difficult to get used to, because and I mean I get it makes sense. You have to like have a really good system to ensure results when you're like at like a bigger company, and when things are at a bigger scale. So that definitely took a little bit to get used to. Like I think just being able to have like that support and be like, all right, something that maybe in Ali would have taken us 4 or 5 months to build and like iterate and get like people in front of it. Like I have like a really like talented sales team that can get me 10 or 15 clients to try something, and then have a really talented product team that can find like different experiments to try in front of them, and then like a really talented tech team that can just build out those things quickly and make sure that the quality is great, and just being able to like leverage this network of like talented people to like get to a result. Like that's been amazing. Like it's something that I had thought works, and just to live it and to see like yeah, like this is how it's supposed to be. It's been like really rewarding.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean, I can only imagine that transition though. It's like going from everything's on you, every little thing is on you, to then being able to like strip away some of the stuff that, I don't know, maybe you love, maybe you hate, like bug requests as they come in. Like, yes, it's frustrating, but at the same time, like I can see how some people might like get really excited about that stuff. It's like, oh yeah, like patching those bugs can be exciting because it's just making the product even better, and just like continuous improvement of the product.
There's an adrenaline to building. Like I think there's people that maybe aren't as like pressure adverse, but just for us, like the camaraderie, like it's like 5 people like in the office every single day. We would go in Saturdays, sometimes Sundays as well, and then just like everyone solving problems, and everyone's got your back, and then everyone knows what it is, and you can talk about it. Like just like that whole thing. I went from like 3 years straight of seeing someone every single day to like us working in the same company being like, dude, it's been 6 months. Like, where are you? Like, what are you doing? What's your day to day like? You know? So that's kind of crazy.
Totally. That's so funny. I'm always thinking about, new opportunities and new things to build. And I love asking this question. Like if somebody wanted to build something now, build a company now, build a product, and potentially leverage AI, where are you seeing like the most opportunity? I mean, this thing is moving so fast. It's kind of hard to say like snapshot in time, like this is where we're at right now, start building here. But have you given any thought to like what you would build if you were forced to start something new?
I think that infrastructure is a huge like pain in the butt. Like I feel like every company needs a couple of DevOps. I feel like just like managing your dependencies on like different systems and like paying for tokens and just scaling like complex infrastructure that is going on from like these like really different ways. Like at the end, like maybe all AI companies use like OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, and then they like call the API, but like everything behind it, it's different and complex and pricey and stuff. So I would love to see something come in and like really simplify that. I think that would be amazing. I think all the agent stuff is like really cool. Like I think agents are insane. Like a agent me be like, dude, like follow up on all your clients and like let me know. And like instead of me like having to spend like a couple hours a day just on email, like, hey, how you going? How's it? You know, like being able to like have like a personal me helper. That just sounds like a really cool world that I would love to live in. So I think someone's going to get those right.
It's coming. Are you familiar with Lindy?
No.
I think it's Lindy.ai. Oh, I get to turn you on to something.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Lindy.ai. I think it's .ai. Let me just check real quick. Sorry, Sandy. We're taking. I'm
gonna check it out right after this.
Lindy.ai is gonna blow your mind. You're talking about leveraging agents and wanting to kind of clone yourself and just be like, hey, work in the background. This is getting there. It's getting there.
Is it expensive?
Now there's some downside. There's some downside. I was just on Twitter the other day and somebody posted about using Lindy to like automatically respond to certain emails. And a lot of the replies were like, this is amazing. This is great. And then one person was like, hey, so when I email Andrew, I kind of want a response from Andrew, not some random bot, not some random agent that is taking your prompts. Is like, I want to know that I'm getting a response back from Andrew. So I get the pushback. Like I get the criticism here. I just don't know if we're going to be able to go back. Like once this is as good as it can be, how do you go backwards?
That's a fantastic question. I had this experience emailing one like potential like customer that I found out after like a couple of months that I was talking to an AI the whole time. And I would always be like, this guy answers quick. Like this guy, like, wow. Like like, this is like, we're testing. And then it turns out like he was like just using like an AI to like answer emails. I mean, I think if they can get the quality right, I use Superhuman for my email. And then it has like
I hear they're doing a pretty good job with that too.
They're doing a solid job. Like I use it a lot for, especially for like proofreading. As I mentioned before, I'm a shitty lawyer and they suck at writing and whatever. When it like kind of has to like come up with like the response by itself, I never send that response. Like I always have to like go in and type it in. But that in itself, like an email that back in the day would have taken me 15 minutes to like just like get everything down, like it's gonna do it for me. And then like I just have to like spend a minute fixing it up and just hit send, man. That's great.
Can you imagine in 20 years, you start a new company and instead of hiring a single person, you've got 15 agents just executing for you. You've got an ads agent just executing the ads. You've got a creative agent just delivering those ad creatives that speaks directly to the ads team. You got a CMO basically just like overseeing everything. It's wild. It is wild.
I love that.
I mean, the writing is on the wall. Like it's coming.
I love that.
It's coming. It's just going to empower more founders, more entrepreneurs to try new things, try to create value somewhere.
I think about that for lawyers all the time. I was going to give the lawyer example, but for like designers, like imagine like if I'm working with Spring Studios and we have like a couple of like rabbit holes we want to go down into, see like what could help. Imagine you just like sending like 5 or 10 agents just like explore this way, and they could have like designs and Figmas and prototypes and like interview questions and customer maps ready. Like what would that do for Spring Studio? That would be like an unparalleled like help. Like what, imagine the possibilities of like how much better like product or contracts or food or anything could be. Like I think that's an incredible world to live in. I'm so pumped.
It's definitely a world. I think there's going to be a pendulum shift back to craving a little bit of human input, for lack of a better term. I think we're going to start to see, just like we have become very aware of how much ChatGPT writing there is out there. Every LinkedIn post, every tweet, every email response, every cold email, it's all ChatGPT at the moment. And you can sniff it out a mile away. So it's going in and rethink or crafting that message in a way that feels a little bit more genuine, authentic. It's taking the outline the ChatGPT put together for you, but then going in and adding that human touch is super important. I think on the creative side, and on any other like deliverable, you're going to also start to feel that too. Like if we did have a team of AI agents at Spring Studio to whip up concepts quickly, like I think the conceptual phase, we can absolutely leverage that. And then past the conceptual phase is where the actual human element is required to come in and create something that is really great.
But I think like, for example, like something that I have like really fresh in my mind, I did a frequently asked questions like document that I want to send out for the company. And it was based on something that I did like years back for Ali. And I didn't even have GPT-3 do it because it was super, like it wasn't good at that. And I remember like me spending one whole night, like I sat down like at like 5 in the afternoon, and just I ended up going to bed at like 2, and it was like a document, and it had like the questions like phrased in a great way, and then the answers, and then just me like writing it out. And I just did that. It took me, I asked like the initial set of questions, it gave me like 15. I kept like 7. Like I edited a couple things, and then like it gave fantastic answers. And I was like simple, clear. I used the tip that you actually gave me. It's like explain it to like you were explaining it to a 5-year-old. I remember you gave me that tip, dude.
Yep.
Easiest
can be. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites because it's so easy for us, especially in this industry. It's so easy for us to like overcomplicate things, use jargon, like add like too much context, like all this stuff. Just like, no, just simplify it. Write it so a 5-year-old can understand.
That's the best tip, bro. I stole that from you 100%. And it took me 45 minutes to do something that like I remember distinctly taking like 5 hours to do. And this is probably better. Probably better.
Oh, sure. I agree. It is streamlining. I mean, I do the same. Like it's streamlining my process like I've never even imagined. It is absolutely amazing. I have it open literally every day, and I'm asking questions every single day, asking it to do this, asking it to do that. But yeah, my favorite prompt is write it so a 5-year-old can understand. And if it's a little too simple, I go up a few years. Write it so a 9-year-old can understand. And I just keep getting progressively older, just so I can get enough of that context and enough of that sort of information in the answer, so it actually makes sense. Because sometimes it's like, you know how Batman has his cape, and it's like that might be a little too simple.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. But I mean, it works. Like,
yeah, it does. It does. I love it. I could talk about this all day. What are you focused on right now at your current role? What are you excited about?
So I think there's like a really big opportunity, especially in Latin America. I'm not sure how it works in the US, but there's a lot of like regulatory processes for like banks and insurance companies where they have to like send in forms and like get information and have signed. We found like this is a really big pain, and we're super thrilled to be like working with some like top tier enterprise companies to like fix it. And that's like a really promising area for us. KYB, KYC, and like ID validation in these processes. Like that's where I'm focused at, and like really big projects, exciting projects there.
That's super exciting, man. I'm excited to continue hearing updates, hopefully regularly. Where can people find you, get in touch in case they have questions, want to ping you for lunch down in Mexico City or something?
You can email me at andres@legalario.com, or my LinkedIn is Andres Girault, and happy to respond to anything through there.
Nice. Awesome. Andres, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking some time and chatting with me. This is awesome.
All right, man. You're the best. Thanks for everything.
Dude. Yeah. Good to see you.